Hi, guys. Welcome to the Get It Done podcast. The podcast where I talk to business owners about their business, allowing them to share their business, their journey, their experience in business. The reasoning for the podcast is I get to talk to so many people. Um, and a lot of times, at some point, the conversation ends up leading to business. And a lot of times, people want to start businesses, but they don't for no other reason than other than them being just scared to do the thing. For the most part, I don't know. The goal is just to hopefully inspire someone to get up and do the thing to inspire them to go after their dreams, no matter what it may look like, no matter what the idea is. Hopefully, I can talk to another business owner. They can hear either from me or the other person something that inspires them to just get it done. So that's why we are here. So this episode is sponsored by Matilda's Corner. Matilda's Corner is an all-natural plant-based skincare. We provide services as well as products. That is my business. That is my baby. Um, so while we wait for our guests, the product of the month right now, I am promoting um my rose hibiscus ice toner. So I've been ice toning for probably about a month and a half now. Complete game changer. I have not given myself a face. I've been so busy, but I haven't given myself a facial at all this month. I did look at my skin the other day, like, okay, it's time for a facial. But usually I would have needed a facial at least probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the fact that for like I can look at my skin and still be able to like go without a facial for a couple extra weeks is enough for me. So um let me see. Nope. Okay, we're back. So I am trying out a different angle for the um camera this week. It looks a little weird, but I think I like it a little better. We are waiting for today's guest. I'm basically talking to people that I've never met before. I've never met them. I don't know who they are. Um, Very few people I know who they are, and um, I am basically talking to strangers. But I think the conversation is more interesting in that way. I don't know. So I do a little bit of once they apply, I read their application, but once I'm done with that, like I forgot because I have a list of applicants. So I'm basically going live with people that I've never met before. She is here. I'll go ahead and add her to the stage. Hi, is your name pronounced? How are you?
Good, great.
Is your name pronounced Tabitha?
Yep.
Okay, I always want to make sure I get people's names correct.
Yeah, it's good.
So
It's
I'll
good.
let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I am Tabatha Thorell, and my business right now is called the Family Legacy Project, which we help families buy their first income property, and then we help them
Nice.
teach wealth principles to their kids, so that not only can they build wealth, but they keep wealth through generations. And we do it in a very just fun, joyful way that families can unite together rather than separate, because we target really entrepreneurs and business owners, and that is hard for entrepreneurs to do, and especially if you have kids in a marriage. And so we just want to unite the family unit, unite the couples together, but teach people that it's not just about making money right now. Like, you have to build that wealth so that generations after you, it's kept. And it's
Yes.
not just about making it and giving it to your kids. It's about teaching them the principles so they not only keep the wealth that is inherited to them, but they make their own. And
Yes.
then they go from generation and they build the impact and the philanthropy that they want, because they're not living in scarcity. They live in abundance, and they don't have to constantly focus about paying the bills and what am I going to do, living in the survival. We want kids to thrive, and we don't want them to feel entitled, because of their parents. We want to give them wings to soar. And then the parents is like the gust underneath.
Nice.
And so I just love it. I have 5 kids myself. Me and my husband have been real estate investors for 20 years.
Nice.
And we've been entrepreneurs that long, building businesses. I started off in coaching. So I just have a heart to just help people with their full potential and not let anything hold them back. And I see scarcity mindset hold so many people back, even entrepreneurs who are like doing the grind and all that stuff. I see price points and money, really like that fear of it.
People are scared to raise their prices. The amount of people that I talk to that say that they're scared to raise their prices. I'm like, girl, you're going to put yourself out of business.
Oh yeah. You are going to be a broke difference maker, and you can't help anybody. I mean, there's a reason why they say, put your oxygen mask on first. And you can't just put the mask on and not have the oxygen come through. And the money is the oxygen. Yes. So the mask is not going to do anything for you if you don't have oxygen coming through that. Yes. And so I have such a heart to empower people. I'm not here to say this is what I say is Bible and everything that we do has been perfect. My husband we have struggle busted challenge after challenge. When you're raising 5 kids in a very rural area where scarcity mindset is very strong, it's hard to go against that, because not only do we have scarcity mindset, but then we have these mindsets about what it does mean to be wealthy, and the negative of that, of like, that's evil, or only the doctors, the lawyers, the stockbrokers, the bankers, it must be nice, right? Like almost having that negative connotation with being, wealthy. And what that means to you is that we teach people that wealth is not just money. Wealth is characteristics. It's abundance. It's a mindset. Money is a tool that you use for wealth, but it's not the only thing. And so we're just doing a really soft launch this month, kind of our inner circle, like reaching out to people and saying, hey, come in. We want to know exactly what you guys need. This has been a baby for about 4 years of people saying, teach us how to buy our first property. We want to do what you do, but we're scared. We're not sure. We don't have the money. We don't have, there's all this jargon and all these real estate gurus out there that some of them are awesome and their education is pivotal and it's amazing. But when you don't have an understanding, a confused buyer never buys. So if you are somebody who is overwhelmed with the lingo, with the logistics, you have all this fear and wrapped up in money, you're never going to understand earnest money. You're never going to understand seller finance. You're never going to understand that a contract can be broken without you losing your shirt, right? So like, if you don't have that community of people that is kind of pushing you out of the nest and then reassuring you along the way, you're probably never going to do it. Or you're going to do it later on in life and you're going to say, I wish I would have done that 10 years ago. I wish I would have done that in my 20s. And now I'm in my 40s or my 50s. So we just want to help people take that leap. Our soft launch, we're offering some actually free consultation with just a small group of people to say, hey, if you have a property, bring it to us. We will give you, like if we would invest in it, some things to look at just to really get handhold, to get them to take that leap, and then give them principles that they can teach their family, but in a way that's fun, because kids don't want to learn about
easy.
Kids don't want to learn about financial literacy. They don't want to learn about ROIs and like what's this going to mean to me in earnest money and what's a rental property. My daughter, I love her. She's almost 10 years old and we've done this her whole life. And last night she goes, what's a rental property?
Like, what? You don't know that?
I'm like, girl, you've been with us. She has literally came to our proproperties with us, and
she doesn't have the vocabulary to put with it.
She's like, oh, that. She's lived the life and she's still, the lingo is not there. So we want it for kids for their understanding. and to have a vision of theirs. So like when they were really little, we had goals and we'd buy these houses and we'd have to go spend time at them. And, they wanted mommy and daddy. And sometimes we could bring them and sometimes we couldn't. And so we'd say, okay, we're doing this so that, and we'd have a family vision of like what that was. So that, for us, it was becoming financially free, building their wealth. They didn't understand that. They were like, 6, 3, and 1. But we said, hey, we're going to take you to Disney World. At the end of the year, when we do this, we're going to go to Disney World. And if you guys do some extra things, like you come and you help us sweep up some stuff or paint some stuff or whatever, you're going to earn some money. And then we get to buy those awesome mini ears that you want so bad. Because before, when we'd been to Disney World, we never let them have that extra stuff because we were like, it's so expensive. We lived in the scarcity, right? Like,
Right.
be happy that you got to go into Disney World, that whole miser. Yeah. So we would say, hey, we get to go there. And then the next trip, like you get those ice cream things or whatever. And so they were excited about us working and them working because they saw a vision.
Reward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was theirs. It wasn't like financial freedom. What does that mean to them? Right? Like that. So we teach those things and bring it into a community. And that's our vision, is to bring a lot of these families together. The kids can mastermind together. Nice. They can build businesses together, have relationship of like-mindedness, where maybe at school they don't have that because their inner circle is small. And so that's what we're doing. And I'm super excited about it.
I love that. So where did the idea stem from? When was the seed first planted? How did this all come about?
Well, we've lived it for 20 years. My husband and I started in college before we were even married that we bought our first income property because we knew by trade, my husband was in construction, amazing, like contractor, like he can do amazing carpentry work, but his real trade is farming. So in farming, you don't have retirement plan. There's nobody that's coming in, that ROAs and all that stuff. And so he knew if he did the real estate stuff, that would, he could retire someday, and have something there. So he saw that right away. And so bought a couple properties before we were even married. And then when we had kids, we just knew like we wanted to build that wealth. We just didn't have the right mentorship. I'm not saying it wasn't out there. We just couldn't find it or didn't find it, want to find it, however you want to say, like we just didn't find it. So we just did it a lot. Who we were looking at was his dad, and his dad did it really hard and very like, you have to do everything yourself or you're going to, be broke if you hire people to help you. And reality, that was false, because when you have people help you, then you can advance quicker. But we just did what we knew. And so we just did a lot of the work ourselves and just bought properties over the time frame. I was building a coaching business on the side, doing things just to help the finances. He was doing his thing. So we were just in a lot of different places. And in 2020, he came with me to a conference, a big marketing conference. And he just wanted to see the world that I was in. So he came and I said, man, I would love to do a program with you. Because my husband and I are like each other's best friends. We've been together since we were in high school. And I'm like, I don't want to we do the real estate stuff together, but then he has his stuff and I have mine. I'm like, I would love to do this. And I remember we went and ate lunch and I'm like writing let's do a couples mastermind or do something like with entrepreneurs. I was just all excited. And that's kind of where it birthed. Like we knew that we wanted to help entrepreneurs do that. And then people at this conference would ask us what we did, and we would tell them and we'd say, yeah, we bought income properties. And every person would say, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that. And I'd say, okay, why haven't you done it? And, they'd have every excuse in the book and I'm not sure. And this, and so it just got me thinking, like, if we could help people do that. But my vision then was to really unite the families and have a family mastermind where kids could come together. That's, for me, my biggest passion. I love to renovate. We renovated, flipped properties. I love design, that part of it. So like, that was always my thing. With real estate, all the lingo and the logistics and the numbers, that was always my husband. So I kind of shied away from it, thinking I'm not smart enough to go into the real estate space. And so I just kept coaching. And my husband was not going to develop a coaching program because that's not his thing. So we just kind of talked about it and it just kept coming up. And at the end of last year, a friend of mine was like, you need to have a podcast because you have all these relationships with these people and you need to invite them in. So I really was focused on my podcast, launching that at the beginning of this year. And I was like, if I want to do anything with coaching, I was going to go two ways. I was going to help people storytell and get their message out with their voice, because I have a passion for that, or do this family entrepreneurship thing. So I went with a coaching company and I was talking to the guy and I said, what should I do? This is always entrepreneurs. Like, what should I do? I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong. And he said, well, tell me your expertise. And I told him, he said, why aren't you doing the real estate stuff? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't feel like, I'm an expert in it. And he goes, could you help somebody buy a property in 90 days? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. That's easy. And he's like, it's not. Like, it's not easy. And I'm like, really? Like, I mean, but it is. You do this and this and this and this. And he's like, you need to sell that. Like, that's what it is. And then when I added the family element, people were like, oh my gosh, there's nothing like this on the market. Like, there's a lot of real estate courses and there's a lot of people who know the lingo and all that stuff way better than I do. But to bring in the element of the family with it. So you're building your wealth and then you're keeping your wealth. And then we bring in experts on like tax strategy so that you're saving in your business and with the house, because that's super important. We're bringing in people that are like bankers and money source, like how you can get the money, the funding, the lending, whether that's for your business or for the house. So I have a lot of relationships of people that I get to bring in that makes that element too. So it's been a baby for a while. And I just think I felt like an imposter, or, I just didn't know. I was like, people kept telling me, but you have all this experience. I'm like, I know, but we've just done it. It was never like anything that I sought after to become an expert in. We just did it because we saw the end game. And then I saw a need with my kids, like how my daughter said, what's a rental property? I'm like, you live this. I saw where my kids were not being influenced by the right, even though I felt like I was a strong influence, the people around them were still influencing them so much stronger that I thought I have to have another element where they're around people that live a different life, where money and scarcity aren't there, where they can dream and imagine, and somebody's not going to tell them, well, yeah, but have a backup plan, or you need a safety net or whatever. And so I thought, man, if I could just cultivate this and just be the facilitator of that and watch relationships, flourish, I just think that's so special too. So it just makes it a very comforting space where I'm not just going like, hey, let's have kid masterminds, because that's kind of weird, like let's have like families together where the parents know, and like but the kids still get to be their own self and like have that. So, for me, it's selfish because I want my own kids to have it. But then it's like, once we have it, I know I'll want to share it. So it's like, why not do it while we're doing this? And we are doubling our real estate portfolio in the next 3 years. And I want people along for that, because we're doing a lot of things that are new. And I'd love to share what I learned with my audience so that they can grow faster than what we did, because we stayed stuck for about 10 years because we were just scared. And I don't want
figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of when we arrive, I mean, our real estate portfolio is in the 7 figures. So it's not like we have nothing, but like when you get to the 8 figure, I don't want to get there and then be like, oh, this is how you do it. Like, come along with me and get there too.
While it's still fresh.
Exactly. Like learn. And the real estate market, it changes a lot, but there's certain things that really do stand the test of time. And it's really the safest way to invest. And it's the easiest way to invest, really. I mean, when you break it down, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I don't do a lot with stocks. Maybe handing your money over is easier, but I wouldn't say it's safer, and it's not.
I learned my lesson.
Yeah, right. So it's like when you have that little bit of control, and you can have that ease of knowing a property. If you hold it long enough, it's going to make you money. So just keeping that in mind and like teaching, and it's just the mindset, and that's where the group comes in. That's why we decided to do a group and not a course.
Nice.
because I didn't want people just to do a course and like get halfway through it and then give up. The course is in the group, and then you're like incentivized to go through the course. Like you get different points, and then you get different merch, and you get different rewards and stuff like that. So it makes it fun, and it makes them want to like do the work instead of just you buy a course and then it sits in your inbox and you don't do anything. And then 10 years later, you still haven't bought a house. Like that's
Nice.
not what I want to do. I want
Right.
impact. I don't want to just make money. That means nothing. I mean, I want to make money and impact. If I just wanted to go sell a product, I'd go to Amazon and sell, something way
Right.
easier.
Yep. I love the passion that you have behind it. Like it clearly shows. So I absolutely love that. So as far as you say you have 5 kids,
Yeah.
how is that? How is maintaining your wifely duties, being a mom to 5 children and still balancing running your businesses?
Well, I think balance is a facade, and I don't ever really thrive for balance per se. I thrive for who I am in that moment. So there's different moments of my day. And so people look at this differently because there's no equal amount of time. There just isn't. I mean, if you really break down a day, like, are you going to split your day into 12 hours here, 12 hours there, and you have to sleep and self-care and all, so like balance, I think, is a facade. It's more of like when I go to bed at night, like, do I feel good about who I was in the roles that I played that day? Well, I'm a child of God first. So like, what was I with God that day? Like, even if it's just a quick devotional in the shower, whatever peaceful moment I had, okay, check. My husband, was I respectful to him? Did I give him love today? Even if it was small, because sometimes it's just a small window. Okay. Was I mom today? That's the bigger window because I have kids from age 2 to 15.
Whoa.
So, well, almost 15. So like, was I mom? And did I let other things spill over to where maybe I need to go back and apologize for something? Like looking at that. So I just really take inventory because I am very intentional. I try not to do anything that's just like haphazard. And if I do, I feel very unbalanced or anxious because that's not who I am. So I just look at my day, and my day is very full. And it's like today was crazy because it was the last day of school. And so like trying to get to the school to do this for my one daughter, and then I had to come home, and then I had to go do this for my other daughter. And then I took our little ones to the children's museum, and then I had to do some stuff for real estate, and we had to get our car because it was being fixed, like
Oh
all
my
those little
goodness.
rounds.
That's like a week's worth of stuff in a day.
Yes. Yeah. And it was just like, and then that's where, like, when I was asking you about the time, because the time difference sometimes with my podcast, I do not like to be late for anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to do it? And, and then this gets moved from here. And so sometimes I just have to sit back and be like, what's the number one thing in business that has to get done today that I haven't done? And just doing that one thing. And that's hard for me because I'm a workhorse. I will go until like I completely deplete. So I have to stop and say, okay, but the kids are at home. Are they needing mom? Like, have I not been home? My office is just a few blocks from my house, so I can always kind of go back and forth. And this year was the first year that I hired a nanny to come and help me. Otherwise, everything else I did before with just random babysitters. Sometimes I really didn't let other people in. I worked our business when they were sleeping or when they like at night, nap time, on the weekends, stuff like that. So if any of the women on here and you're struggling like to build a business, you have to hire. And for me, it was a housekeeper first. I hired a housekeeper just twice a month. That was my first like scary, I'm going to pay for something that, like I should be doing myself, is how I thought it. And then I would do
just so weird about the housekeeper, because I'm like, how do you know who to bring in your house? Because I'm going to want to be like, okay, let's sit down and pray before you walk through these doors.
You have to pray over. You have to give them grace. That's what I see, because I have high standards. And so I had to give people grace. And then I just had to say, like, if they weren't doing their job, I had to let them go and be like, it's not you, it's me, or it is you. Like you need to learn how to clean better. This is your job. Like I shouldn't have to clean after you clean.
After you leave.
Yeah. And same with the babysitter thing. I did a lot of praying about that. Like
Even
I
that would
wanted
be
one
hard.
like 6 months before I actually got one, but I just said, God, you'll put the right person when the timing's right. Until then, I will do this business in the nooks and crannies of my day. And I will try not to get frustrated and discouraged when it doesn't advance, because there wasn't a lot of options. I mean, I even looked at getting an au pair like from overseas and coming and living in our building, because we could have renovated it to an apartment. And the only reason why I didn't do that was because our area didn't have, they have to have like a sponsor that like comes and checks on them to make sure like everything's legit.
Oh, that
And
reason
they
wasn't.
didn't. But I had a friend that was going to become a sponsor. So I could
You're
have
like,
this.
we're going to figure this out.
I know. I was like, I am done, trying to do this all myself. I mean, I was driven to fight because I knew that was the next hire. I could hire all the VAs I wanted, but if I didn't have someone I trusted
Yeah.
taking care of my babies, even for 20 hours a week, because that's what I do.
That helps.
I'm able to think, like
Yeah.
I'm able to get away and like think and do that. And so that helped me with the balance, because this gal, she does my laundry, she's cleaning for me. Because I asked her, I said, do you want me to get a cleaning lady, or do you just want me to give you a few extra hours and you stay later and clean or whatever? And she's like, well, I'll clean for you. And so
Nice.
she's doing that. I don't know if we'll keep it that way because it is a lot, but for right now, it's working. And so until I can find a cleaning lady that does a good job, then, we'll keep it working. But I have to have my household be not chaotic in a sense of a lot of junk, because it's a lot of I have 5 girls, by the way.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a lot of emotion
Woo!
and like
Yes.
energy, and it's fun and it's beautiful and it's chaotic and we're running here and there. So like I need the things like the tidy up stuff done
To be
so
in
that I
place.
don't feel like I have to do that instead of be with them,
Yeah. I love
because I
that.
would do that.
Yeah.
So that's my balance, is like when I'm home and I'm there, even if there's stuff that needs to be done on the house, like housework, I will tell myself, no, it's fine. You need to go outside and jump on the trampoline with your children, or take them for a walk, or take them to the children's museum today. Like I had errands I needed to run. I'm like, no, we're taking an hour and we're going to go there because they love it. And they deserve that. Like, why am I working so hard if we don't get those moments? And so,
because they grow up so fast.
like my daughter, her last day of junior high was today. So she's gonna be a high school student. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I met my husband when I was 15 and she's gonna be 15 this summer. So I'm like, it's crazy. But yeah, I love it. There are moments, I mean, a lot of moments where I'm like short-tempered, or, like I get my priorities, like what is the focus? And I just have to stop. And this is where my connection with God is so good, because I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. Everything happens for me, not to me. Like you're going to bless me, that you're going to bless this, like whatever is done, like move forward. And nobody else, what they think of me matters except for this moment. And I have to tell myself that a lot, because I am driven and I have high energy. And sometimes it's like a double-edged sword. It's good when it's good and it's bad when it's bad. And as I get older, I'm learning to transition that. And as our business grows, hiring people to help me, that was a huge growing point for me. And I'm still learning. Like my VA will message me, hey, what do you have for me today? And I'm like,
I don't know, nothing.
I don't know. Like, let me try to give you something off my list. But a lot of it, I feel like I have to do. So it's learning for me to let other people in. And if we could have done that in real estate earlier, we would be light years ahead. And so even for my husband, it's been a learning for him, because he's just always done it himself. And I'm like, no, we're going to hire somebody and it's going to be okay. And we'll find the money. It'll be fine.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
So, today, what are you thankful for?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Honestly, like that my kids are healthy and just thriving in their own way. Even as, my older daughter, becomes a teenager and we butt heads and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm so thankful for her, like her personality. And if I wanted her to do the things that, I say right now, she wouldn't have the personality that she has. The relationship that I have with my husband, I am so grateful for, because at the end of the day, finances come and go, businesses come and go, like your quality of life is really the relationships that you have.
Yes.
And marriage is such a pivotal point of that. Like, if that's not solid, and we've always had that stance, like if we're not good, we will stop everything and be like, even the kids, I'll be like, you're going to ground, like dad will,
Let's
my
get
dad,
this together.
like, yeah, we have to like be what, like we're the center here.
I
And
love
then
that.
my relationship with God, it's like, if I feel there's a distance, I'm like, it's not God. He's not distancing himself from me. It's
Yep.
me. What am I not? What am I trying to hide from? What am I chasing that's causing this gap? And so
That's where I'm at now. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And like checking myself. I have a really high sense of self-awareness, which I've trained. That did not come easy. Like that was definitely like trained and developed like a muscle. And then this business, this passion project, like I said, it's a soft launch. And so I want to like just go out there and just be like, yeah, but I have to be delicate with it because I do believe that once it catches on, it's going to catch fire. And I don't want to let people down. I don't want people to come in the group and be like, this is such a letdown or this is a joke. Like I want to over deliver with it. And so I have to like take a step back to go forward. And I'm doing my podcast as well. And I'm on a lot of podcasts. So, and that's important to me. So just checking myself with, if I'm not where I thought I should be, just taking that one step forward and giving myself grace, where I was really bad about that like 10 years ago. I would be really hard on myself and I would just, I'd love on everybody else, but myself, I'd be like so mean, and I'm thankful that I'm able to forgive myself, give myself grace, and just know it's going to happen. Like God put this in my heart and it's going to happen. So why fret about it? And so those are the things that I'm super grateful for.
I love that. Okay, so walk me through how, when do you say it starts?
So we have opened up enrollment, if you will.
Okay.
It's in a school group. So people, it's so simple. You go on the link, you join the group, and then we'll have in there different courses that you can take. And then you get different points and like interactions. We want to eventually do like Q&A sessions and mastermind where people all get together as it grows, and get those going where people can in real time have their questions answered. But like our goal is when people come into the court or come into the group, from day 1 to day 90, they have at least their first house in contract. Because the steps, honestly, if you follow the steps, you could probably do it in like a 30 days. Depending what area you live in, because all areas are different and more delicate and things like that. But if you were excited about it, we just looked at a property the other day and we could have been in contract, but we've done it enough, so it's like, even within that, just that 90 days of like finding the right property and feeling good about it and getting your financing and all that kind of stuff, from day 1 to day 90, our mission is to get you that first property and to give you a little bit of education on how we can go forward with your legacy wealth, meaning how can we, like, what ages are your kids, like what you can start teaching them, and just like little things, not like a whole nother course or a whole nother thing. Because when you're buying your first property, these people, they have lives, they're entrepreneurs, they're family. Like, we don't want to fire hose them and be like, okay, and now we're going to talk about this. And now we're going to talk about this. It's like bite-sized things that they can take. And then we'll start doing like kid masterminds, and because kids, all these, like, they can do electronics better than we can. And we want to get them in like a Zoom room and just like meet each other and do stuff like that. So my mission is at least once a year to get all the families together at like Disney or a cruise where we can all meet and mastermind. And I bring experts in and just make it fun, but they learn and grow, because I know when you meet people, it's kind of like, I don't homeschool, but my sister does. They do like these homeschool meetups, and like these kids wait all year for these homeschool meetups. Like,
they enjoy it.
Yes. And they have seen friends that they haven't seen because they're all over the country. And that's what I want. And then I want to see high school students that are like, well, I might not want to go to college, but I want the college experience. So how do I do that? Well, you meet other people and you can travel with them when you're older, and you can do these things that are college-like, but without having to go to college if you're becoming an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of facets and growth that I see further. But right now it's like, I just want to help people build their wealth, take that first step, and we walk them through that. And then beyond that, they stay for the community, they stay for those connections. And we just watch families, change the world, because I really believe when you can instill this in your kids, like imagine a world where we have kids that take ownership and follow through, and they don't feel entitled, and they have this wealth that they can give back to their communities, and they can be philanthropists, and they know what that means. And so it excites me.
I love that. 20 years from now, maybe 30, 25, 30 years from now, what will you tell your children about this time in life? While you're sitting on the couch reflecting, like,
yes. I'm envisioning my daughters, because they all want big families and they all are very driven as well. It's just a precious time. I think every stage of life has its own beauty and its own darkness. And when you can just focus on the light and realize that the light is bright because of the dark. And what I don't mean to sound like a fortune cookie there, but
we're able to recognize it because of the darkness.
Right. And it illuminates it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it does. Like when you have something that's lit up and you have that darkness, that contrast behind it, it's even brighter. And so I just think about like when I was in high school, and we live in a small town. So, and I think—
Where are you from? I'm sorry.
That's okay. We live in Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. So we have, and I think this happens everywhere, but some people just really, they miss their high school days. Those were the glory days. And I've just always felt like I loved the time, except maybe junior high. I may not go back to junior high, but high school, I mean, but I don't want to go back, but I enjoyed it. Like what I did there.
It was fun.
It was fun. There was dark days and there was light days. Same with college. Same with when we first got married. Like amazing things. But I'm really happy where I'm at right now. I have aspirations and I have goals and I have things that I want to do and accomplish. But like if God were to come down here, I'm like, okay, like, great, like, let's go. So I think I would just tell my kids, it's like, it's forgiving yourself. It's trusting God, like trust the path, even when it's hard, even when there's a struggle, that this time, especially because they would probably have kids that are in high school, just like, don't be busy just to be busy. Like focus on focus on family moments and like little things, and not letting like what everybody else does or people pleasing. I think people my age, it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? What are my kids supposed to be doing? How's that going to make me look? What if they do this? How does this make, I'm supposed to be doing this, and, my parents this, and I'm kind of in the sandwich generation where it's like my dad's getting older, and I had a mom that already passed. So I've dealt with grief in that. So just reflect. I think for me, it's like, slow down. Don't just be busy, be fruitful, be productive in the ways that God has gifted you, and not just because you're supposed to. Like you're supposed to if God put it there, and he is advancing it, and he's using his might and his glory for that, and not being in the people pleasing. And don't ever stop chasing the dream that he put inside of you. Like the dream and the desires, when they're pure and you put it in the fire, you got to put it in the fire. There's some desires that aren't, right? But like when you put that dream and that desire in the fire, trust it. I live in a town of 400 people. Do you think that they even like have a fathom of like 7-figure incomes? I mean, like so they can. I'm not saying they're dumb. They're not.
Right. It's just not the territory for that
norm, and it's like laughable. Or if I said I earn 7 figures in a month, they would think I'm like illegal or like a miser, or
she's like making up stories over there,
right?
Like, or did you go to that crazy lady's house?
Right, or like it's a scam. or something, and it's because like a lot of them haven't. But are they some of the hardest working people? Yeah, they're farmers and ranchers, and
Yeah.
they're out there working the fields and sun up and sun down. And my prayer to them is that they are blessed financially, but unfortunately, it's not how hard you work. I wish it was. My dad worked sometimes 16, 19 hours a day and he was an electrician, blue collar. That's when I learned it wasn't how hard you worked for the income that you got. And I'm like, this is crazy. So, I mean, teaching my kids that and just continually to love them, like no matter what that looks like, even if I think it's wrong, like I'm not the say all and do all, and share the wisdom with them.
Yeah. I always say, I'm not God, God is God. So don't forget that when people come to me with stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, it's called the What Went Wrong podcast, the untold stories of bouncing back from failure.
Period.
And it's fun and it's short and sweet. We do about 20 to 30 minutes. I think I have a couple that are 40 minutes, but I really let the guest share a story of a time that they really wanted to give up, whether that's give up on a relationship, give up on life, give up on business, like a time that was very vulnerable to them. Like even admitting it is like almost painful. Like a guy that I interviewed at the end of the interview, he's like, yeah, that was great. I kind of forgot about some of that stuff, because he was telling a story about his business. He goes, kind of feel like I just went to a therapy session. Like, okay.
You got to release all that.
And he forgot. And I think we forget where we are, especially if we're not in the struggle. We forget like, oh yeah, that was really, really hard. Yeah. And so I just one story can kind of lead to two, but we try to keep it condensed. I mean, a lot of things, we could share. There's always more than just one, too, but sometimes for people, it was a rock bottom moment, or it was a moment that maybe wasn't rock bottom to someone else, but to them inside their soul, it's like, I have to get out. I have to do this. Yeah. And I had like one gal it's when she had kids and everybody told her like, being a mom's great. And she had like postpartum and she like couldn't function. She was having trouble getting dressed. Like her husband finally sent her away to her mom and her sister because she couldn't get dressed in the morning.
Yeah.
And she was able to tell that story. And I think it's just so powerful because a lot of the stories are business oriented, but I mean, I have people that were addicts that lost everything, and then they came back and they built 7-figure businesses. Yes. And I think just hearing those stories gives people hope. Like, okay, if they went through that, I can go through this, or what I'm going through isn't as bad. And if they made it, then, because that's what got me through. Hearing other people's stories, whether that was on a podcast. I love documentaries, hearing stories. There's a series on A&E that me and my husband watch, and it's like these incredible stories of entrepreneurs that, almost lost everything or did lose everything and came back, and this is what it was. And so, and actually it's the History Channel, but like we love to hear those stories. And as humans, I think we love to hear those stories. And so I just wanted to bring a platform that allows somebody to share where they were and then how that led to where they're at. And even if they don't feel like they're necessarily on the mountaintop, because I think we're always kind of hard on ourselves, like, well, but I haven't earned, 8 figures yet, or like I haven't got the 10% body fat yet, or, whatever. It's like, okay, let's celebrate where you are and like, how did you get here? And then if you do have goals, like, how are you going to get there? And so it kind of shares the journey of where they struggled. And we go right into it. There's not a lot of like fluff in our podcast. It's very short and to the point, but I did that purposefully because I want people to kind of get that like little injection, that hope injection, and not because I want them to move afterwards. I want them to take action. You can't have faith without action. You have to trust that. So that story, whatever that story, pulled you in, learn from it and then move on. I have some people that will give little tips like on business, but that's not the main point. I want the person to get their own tip from that story, like what they learned from that, not me telling you what you should learn from my story. What do you actually get from my story? And then we throw in some popular, like I did something on like Steve Jobs, Oprah, H.J. Hines. I've done stuff of like stuff that they've done wrong and how they've been ridiculed, and then like shared that with people, stuff that people might not know. Maybe they do. I mean, it's on the internet. It's not like I knew these people personally,
right.
but
Like I didn't call her and ask.
right. Exactly. It's stuff that isn't as mainstream that people might like. H.J. Hines, the developer of Heinz ketchup, he became bankrupt. He was a millionaire before Heinz ketchup went completely bankrupt, before he even created ketchup.
Nice.
And this was like in the 30s.
Found his way back.
And has found his way back, and I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh my gosh. So like, I just, stuff like that. If I think it's interesting, I'll share it with the audience and stuff, but I love doing the interviews. It's just fun to hear people's different stories of struggle and what they've been through.
It's always inspiring. That is a part of the reason why I'm doing this. So basically the reasoning or the idea stem from, I get to talk to a lot of different people. I'm an esthetician. So usually when people lay down on the table, we talk about everything, but because I am a business girl, I love talking about business. Somehow the conversation leads to it. Yeah. And they have all these goals and all these plans. They see all the things that I'm doing, but they're not doing it because the core of it is because of fear. So I'm like, well, I have to defeat the spirit of fear. So this is why we're here.
Yes.
So to the girl or to the guy that is watching this, that is just scared to get up and get it done, is there anything that you could possibly say to inspire him or her?
There's so much. No, really what it comes down to is looking at the fear, because danger is real. Like when something is dangerous, that's real. And it's not that fear isn't, but fear is in the mind. Like danger is something that physically can harm you. And fear is in the mind. So it has good and bad. Like in scripture, God says, like, protect your mind, like you have to manage your mind. Like that's like so pivotal. So you have the control of the fear, which is great. But so many people feel like the fear controls them. So when you can take control, because we all have a desire for control, that's flesh. We are born with that. The way that you control it is different. Some people control it with controlling people or controlling food or exercise or whatever. If you can use self-control, which is an attribute of Jesus, right? It's one of the fruits of the Spirit. So self-control, and control your fear. Because if you think about it, fear is self. So you have to control self. You get to. Nobody else put that there. Now, when you were younger, under the age of 8, there was probably something or someone, a traumatic experience or something you saw that was planted. And the devil made sure that you're going to plant some seeds. Like that's just flesh. Like that's the world we live in. It's our jobs as an adult to look at that and say, what is this spirit? What am I really fearful of? Okay. So a lot of people are like, I have a fear of failing. Okay. Let's dissect that. What does failure mean to you? Well, failure means different things to everybody, but it could be losing all my money. My wife would leave me. If my wife leaves me, I will be alone. I will have nobody love me. Okay. So you really have a fear of nobody loving you. Let's dissect that. Like, do you have a relationship with God? Do you feel his presence? Was there a mommy wound? Was there a daddy wound? And I say that kind of cringing because I hate that term, but at the same time, if we have that, that will disconnect from the spirit, whether that is the Holy Spirit, whether that's your relationship with Jesus. So if you have a sibling disconnect, you're disconnected from Jesus. If you have a mother disconnect, you're disconnected from the Holy Spirit. If you have a father disconnect, you're disconnected from God. So looking at those things, and again, I could do a whole podcast series on this. When you look at that and say, like, what is the fearing stand for? Okay, so failure. I have a fear of money, like that I will lose all my money. I'll join this coaching program. It's $25,000 and I'm going to lose it. Or I'm going to join Tab's program and say it was $10,000. It's not, but like, oh my gosh, like I'm not actually going to do what she tells me to do. So I am going to not follow through. right? Like itself, like I let myself down because I haven't followed through before. So looking at that fear, is it a fear of letting your own self down? Because then I have to look in the mirror and say, you didn't do it. I can't blame it on somebody. I have to take ownership. When we take ownership, it's a little gut check. But if we add the forgiveness of no matter what happens, I will forgive myself because in the moment I made the best decision and I believe that money should be released and not hoarded, then that money will do good no matter what. And it will come back to me in tenfold when I have the right heart from it. And that's the hardest for people because there's such a tie with money. So they say like, I have a fear of failing or a fear of being embarrassed is a big one. Like a lot of people don't put words to that, but that's what it is, like humiliation. I don't want to do this. And then my friends find out and then my status goes down because they're all laughing at me like, oh, you paid for that. Oh, you're a loser. Like you've been bamboozled. Like you were scammed. Like people don't realize that there's so many things that are a scam and
they're still doing it.
Like, and you're doing it. And I mean, even just things like in government and even like commercials and stuff you're buying, if you're putting everything in the scam category, or if you just give yourself grace and be like, I made the best decision and with an open heart, I wasn't hoarded, like I wasn't blocked off and I'm going to forgive myself. And I'm going to, whatever I do here, I am going to receive a blessing from it. Like, even if the other person's is not a good intention. I mean, I've had people hack my Facebook account and do this stuff. And I just always say, okay, God, this has been such a pain in the rear, but like use it to glory. Like, how can we make something good from this? And so it's breaking down the fear. So most people actually have a fear of success, what success brings. Like, if I do this, will I lose relationships because I might change? Or will I have to be in the public eye and I think I'm too fat or I have too many wrinkles or they will judge me or they will say this about me? I mean, look at the Kardashians. Like, everybody scrutinizes them, everybody. And I used to watch them way back when they first started, you know, and then I'm like, no, it got too raunchy for me. No way. Well, they released a new series. And for whatever reason, God was like, I want you to play that. And I'm like, I don't watch reality TV anymore. This is weird. Okay. And so I watched it with fresh eyes. Like fresh, like, okay, they're entrepreneurs, they're moms, they're in the spotlight. Let me look at this because this is what success looks like. And this is why people try to go away from it because they are so scrutinized. They have such fear. They have the spirit of anxiety. They have the spirit of fear. They have the spirit of like vanity in a way that could be beauty, but it's not, right? So like trying to dissect that. So people are like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be scrutinized. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be put under the microscope. If I become successful, that's what it could look like. Instead of trusting God, I mean, he has stories in the Bible where literally he hid people's faces from crowds and people didn't know who they were. They were unrecognizable. So I asked that, like, if I have something on that someone might say is provocative, but it's really not. And I say, God, shield the eyes that would look at me lustfully. Like, this is for my husband. This makes me feel good. Like, I am not doing this to get the lust of a man. And I just have to trust it. And I can't wear a paper bag because I don't want this guy over here who doesn't have self-control of lust to look at me when I feel good and sexy for my husband and this over here. So looking at that, where is the fear? And really, really being honest. Because mine was actually a fear of success because I don't like to let people down. So if I got so many people in my program and I couldn't help all of them, I didn't want to do it. And right now, even as I tell you, we're doing a soft launch. The reason why it's a soft launch is because my plate is very full and the program, the course isn't it's not in there yet. And I don't want a whole bunch of people to come in and then be like, well, this is a joke. I'm out. I want to be able to actually help people in doing it. And so I've been like, not really promoting it. I've been doing a little bit on podcasts.
No, ma'am. No, promote your stuff because the only way that you're going to figure it out and get all this stuff in is with the people coming in. That's how you do it.
So tomorrow I said, okay, I'm doing all the content tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'm putting it in. And then I'll send out all our soft emails to like our list and our friends and that people that I know will join in there because I know it's just that thing. But it's like, I don't want to let people down. I have a fear of like of people thinking of me like that I did something shady or, you know, manipulative to get that in there. And those are seeds that were planted by
But we're going to uproot those right now in the
I
name
know,
of Jesus.
I know.
We are not going to ever say that again. The fear is gone. That is not God. So that's not what we're doing. You're going to be great. The fact that you're so passionate about what you have going on, you're going, even if it's not perfect or right in your eyes, it's gonna work. And you're God's baby. Whatever you don't do or you can't do or you don't see, God's gonna take care of it. So we're not speaking. We're not even gonna say that anymore.
I know. I already said, I'm like, okay, no matter what, it's like, I'm doing this, I'm moving forward. I'm not gonna worry about the goals. I'm just gonna take the steps forward. But yeah, I mean, we all have it. And you talk to people who are even like arrived or whatever. It's like, yes. And I have a fear like, okay, if I do this, then do I not get to be the mom I want? But I have to trust that God's going to put the people in my life, because I pray that every day. I'm like, put people in my life that will help advance my business so I can be the mom, the present mom, the loving, passionate mom that I know I am. And I trust that. But I think that's where people, it's like, but I have to do it. Yes. Because if I say I trust God and then I don't do it, faith without works is nothing.
Yes.
So I have to have faith in it, and I have to have faith that this is his baby. He put this in me and he put the people in there. So your audience, you have something that was put inside of you, and you just have to take the steps forward, because it's like me with the nanny. If I wanted to have taken those steps and pursued it, God would have just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I put somebody in there, you're going to find something wrong with them, you know? And so it took that time. The Israelites, he had to take them all the way around. He could have just taken them right there.
But,
you know,
their mindset.
Grow, the character building and stuff. So it's hard for me. I'm not patient, but, you know, I gotta be. And I think, you know, people are the same way. So if you have this desire, if you're like, man, I'd love to do that. It's like the same thing with real estate. It's like, people are like, I want to do this. I want to launch a business. I want to, you know, teach these stuff to my kids. It's like, just doing it. Because at the end of the day, this is what I tell my girls. What's the worst that can happen? And sometimes like, I'm like, no, like, let's legit think about this. And then we reverse engineer stuff at my house. Because then I'm like, okay, well, then what? Okay, well, that's embarrassing. And yes, you're in middle school. So I get that seems like the end of the world. But do you think that when you come home that like mommy and daddy aren't going to be here for you to lovingly hug you? The same as for our Father, God, like as adults, like, do you think that God's not going to be there with a hug and like release for you in your worst, darkest times? And so it's easier said than done, but the more you do it, the more, this is why I'm doing so many podcasts this year.
It's a muscle.
Yeah. Like, you have to just do it and like get humiliated. I mean, I'll ask people to do stuff for me, and if they tell me no, it's like an embarrassment for me. I hate being told no, because I just feel like I didn't persuade them enough. Like, I feel like everybody wants to say yes.
Like, you didn't make the sale.
Right. Even if it's like to watch my kids, you know, I'm like, go with this, right? And so it's a feeling of self and ownership. And a lot of times we don't want to forgive ourselves. So it's like, you on the other side who's listening, like, forgive yourself. Trust that you're going to follow through. Do a baby step. Like, if you want to do a business, okay, just write down a vision of what that looks like. Write down what you would do. You don't have to know it all. Don't know it all. Actually, if you know it all, you're going to fail, because you're going to try to think it's perfect and it's not.
I was about to say, I don't know even with this podcast, I was telling somebody, like, I started the podcast because God told me to get up and start a podcast, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just found the software the same. It was so crazy. It was the day of, and he's like, get up and do it. I found the software, and I went in a bunch of groups and got a bunch of people scheduled. That night I was going live.
Boom.
Doing the podcast. So it's just like, you figure it out as you go, but we got to get it done.
Yep.
Tabatha, it has been a great joy talking to you. While you were talking about the last question that I asked you, I was like basically holding back tears just a little bit, because this is episode 48. So at some point within the podcast, I started talking to God, like, God, where's all the believers that are in business? Like, I'm talking to all these people that are praying to the universe and, doing all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, God, where are your people at? So for the past, I had that prayer, that conversation with him. The past 4 podcasts have all been believers. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what?
Of
But
course.
that's just God showing up another
Yes.
way in my life. So I'm extremely grateful. Thank you so very much for being here. Is there anything that we did not go over that you'd like to share? Talk about
No,
questions?
that's if you are interested in our movement and our legacy builders, keeplegacywealth.com is the website, and you can join the group from there, and it kind of explains a little bit. And if you are someone who's like, I don't even own my own home, like I just rent, how can I do income like, don't let that hold you back. If you haven't even started a business yet, like, do it. I mean, I'm not sure what Erin's offering, if it's like help business development, but don't wait. Don't say like, well, I want to buy real estate when I get my business going, or I want to get my business going once I do this. Like, do it all. Like, jump both in, because as you're creating your income, you want to build your wealth as well. Don't look at it 2 different entities, because first of all, you can have financing for both. Like, it's not all, the bank's not going to say you can only have this amount of money. They're like, oh, you're doing this great thing, there's money out there. So don't look at it as one-sided. If you haven't started your business, because Erin, you said you see a lot of people that, want to do this, like, join her on the, I did a lot of business coaching early on in my coaching career, and getting people to get started on their business, like getting moms to actually do the thing. And so it's like, do the thing, take the leap, but don't hold back. Like, don't just say, when I get money, then I'll invest in real estate, because I promise you it will happen. My husband and I did it when we were 19 and 21. Do you think we had any money? Like,
Right.
no, we didn't. We figured out a way to use other people's money and to do it, like, and then be creative and get nitty gritty with it. And like, it's so possible. So don't have that, like, don't let that block mindset, but yeah, like, check out the website, whatever Erin's got going on the business side of things, like, check her out, because I mean, just do it. Just move forward one step at a time.
Yes, get it done.
Yep.
Well, thank you so very much, Tabatha. You will be hearing from me at some point. I'll send you all the links to all of the recordings. But thanks again for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me, Erin.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Episode 48. I am still inspired by all of the stories, all of the things that mostly ladies. I'm still looking for men to join the podcast, but I'm still inspired by all of the business owners. One of the things that inspire me most is especially like when it's a new thing. So when I'm talking to people that are starting something from the beginning. So I am a girl who is just in love with the beginning of a relationship, the beginning of a business, just doing something in the beginning is so exciting for me. So I'm super excited for someone starting something new. Don't forget to thank God for your blessings. Don't forget to say your prayers. Don't forget to take care of your skin. And I will see you later. Bye.